All right, let's dive into a massive billion-dollar question that pretty much shapes our entire global economy. It's the kind of decision that can literally make or break a company. And you know what? It all boils down to one single question.
So, picture this. You're the boss. You've got this amazing product, but now you've got to figure out how to actually make it, like millions of them. You need a factory. But where on earth do you put it? Right in the middle of a city? Out in the countryside somewhere? Or maybe a totally different continent? It's a huge puzzle, so let's break down how the pros actually solve it.
Turns out, it all comes down to two key ideas: site and situation. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Site is about looking down at the physical piece of land you want to build on, what's right there. Situation, on the other hand, is about looking at a map, what's around you, and how do you connect to, well, everything else. You absolutely have to nail both to win.
Okay, first up, let's zoom in and take the view from the site. This is all about the guts of a potential spot. You know, the fundamental ingredients you have to work with right on that property.
So what are those ingredients? Well, they're the classic factors of production. First, you've got land. Is it cheap? Is there enough room to grow later? Is the ground even stable enough to build on? Then there's labor. Can you actually find enough people to work there? Do they have the skills you need? And maybe most importantly, how much are you going to have to pay them? And finally, capital. Can you get the loans, the investment, the cash, to build the whole thing and buy all that expensive machinery? Seriously, any one of these can stop the project dead in its tracks.
Okay, so let's say you found the perfect site. It's got cheap land, a great workforce, and the money is lined up. Fantastic. But believe me, that is only half the battle. Now we have to zoom out and look at the map, because we need to talk about situation. And situation is really all about one thing: transportation. It's this giant strategic game of getting your raw materials in and shipping your finished products out for as little money as possible. See, your factory isn't just a building, it's the central hub in this massive, sprawling network.
So to even start solving this transportation puzzle, you have to ask a really simple but really profound question. Is your business heavier on the way in, or is it heavier on the way out? And that one question leads to the two core strategies. On one side, you have what are called bulk reducing industries. This is where you take a whole bunch of heavy raw material and you process it into something way lighter. So the logic is simple, right? Put your factory right next to the raw materials so you don't have to pay to ship all that useless weight. On the other side, you've got bulk gaining industries. Here, you're taking lightweight parts and assembling them into something bigger, heavier, or just plain bulkier. The smart move here: build your factory as close to your customers as possible to cut down on the cost of shipping that big, clumsy final product.
Here is a perfect real-world example of bulk reducing. Think about copper ore. It's almost all worthless rock. You might have to process a literal ton of ore just to get a few pounds of pure copper. It would be absolute financial suicide to haul all that rock across the country. So what do? You build the smelter right next to the mine. It's a classic, money-saving no-brainer.
And for bulk gaining, just think about a can of soda. What's the heaviest, bulkiest ingredient in there? It's water. It makes absolutely zero sense to ship heavy bottles of sugar water all over the globe. So instead, companies ship this lightweight, concentrated syrup to thousands of local bottling plants. They just add local water, bottle it, and then it's just a quick trip to your local store. It's so simple, but it's pure genius when you think about it.
So, you figured out where to put your factory relative to your stuff and your customers, but how do you actually connect all those dots? Choosing the right way to get from A to B is the next critical piece of this puzzle. We've basically got four main options, and each one has a really clear trade-off. Trucks are fast and super flexible, perfect for those short-haul, final-mile deliveries. Trains are awesome for moving heavy stuff over long distances on land for a pretty low cost. Ships? Well, ships are the undisputed champions of low-cost, massive international freight, but man, are they slow. And finally, you've got planes. Crazy expensive, but there is no better option when you need to get something small, valuable, and important somewhere like yesterday.
So what happens when you need to switch from one of those to another? You run into something called a break of bulk point. Just think of a giant seaport. A massive container ship comes in, and all its cargo gets unloaded onto dozens of trains and hundreds of trucks. These transfer points, ports, airports, big rail yards, they become huge industrial hubs themselves because every single time you have to move a container, it costs time and money.
Now, all these concepts we've been talking about, site, situation, transportation, they've all come together to create this revolutionary modern strategy that ties it all up in a neat bow: just-in-time delivery. This system is incredibly lean. Instead of having these huge, expensive warehouses full of parts just sitting there, a customer's order triggers a signal that goes out to all the suppliers. They then ship the exact parts needed so they arrive at the assembly line precisely when they're needed, not a day early, not an hour late. The product gets built and shipped out almost immediately. It saves a fortune in costs, but wow, it requires an unbelievably precise and reliable transportation network. It's basically the ultimate mastery of your situation factors.
So as you can see, it all comes back to this one central conflict. Choosing where to build your factory isn't about finding the single cheapest plot of land or the port that's closest. It's this incredibly complex, high-stakes balancing act between the costs right there on your property, that's the site, and the costs you face connecting to the entire rest of the world, and that's the situation.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future. As robots and AI continue to reduce the need for a huge human workforce, which is a key site factor, is that going to make situation, the pure logistics of moving things around, the only thing that really matters? Or will totally new site factors like, say, access to cheap energy or massive data centers rise up and take labor's place? Now that is the next billion-dollar decision to think about.